Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube channel. And it's Saturday, which means it is Star Trek time. And I am joined once again by Hammer, Irate, and Skep. And today we are going to talk about Skep Talk's favorites. But first, how are you three?
I'm great.
Good.
I'm good.
You're
Not
good.
dead yet.
Not dead yet. Yeah.
That's right.
So we've today Skep Talk. He picked some pretty good ones actually. He picked Amok Time, The Changeling, and The Trouble with Tribbles, all from season 2. All really good episodes, and all of them have some awesome lines in them. But let's start with Amok Time.
Okay.
Because I'm OCD and I have to go in order.
So you're going in alphabetical order.
Well, and all these are like iconic episodes, in my opinion,
They are
to some degree. Because anyway, we'll get to
alphabetical and numerical order.
Well, that actually that was in my mind when I chose them. I wanted to choose iconic episodes. There's so many episodes in TOS that I could have chosen. I mean, Menagerie is an obvious one. Mirror, Mirror, I love. I could go on and on with Corbin Might Maneuver is brilliant. There are many episodes that stand out to me as wonderful. So I thought I would pick 3 of my favorites that are interesting and have some larger themes. That have some interesting lines, some larger themes that flow through them, and have some wonderful moments as well. And I think I pretty much covered the waterfront.
Well, and two of them have to do with reproduction. Skep, what does that say about you?
I'm horny Italian.
You're a horny Italian. There you go.
I'm messing.
I'm
this
not
is
dead
loving
yet.
ribbing I'm giving people now. I'm not being an asshole.
No.
It's
Quite all right.
Although I'll play one on TV.
to summarize Amok Time, we are watching Spock in the throes of his Ponfar, and this is the first time we actually hear about Vulcan, any personal Vulcan thing, because they're so,
There's so many big things in Amok Time that it's easy to not notice the little things, and some of the stuff that goes on with Miss Chapel.
Yeah.
Miss Chapel, and throwing the soup out after her at the beginning. Mm-hmm. That's just an awesome scene, and you
and
just
Kirk's like, "What the fuck?"
What is going on?
That screen was not Majel Barrett's screen. That was an editing room
edition. It didn't sound like hers. It really didn't. It never did. It always threw me because I'm like, who is that chick that is in Spock's quarters? That doesn't sound like Nurse Chapel.
Right.
Yeah, and it's really weird because her attraction for Spock only seems to be highlighted in this one episode, because I don't remember seeing it ever again.
Yeah, it was in Changeling.
It is. It's in the Changeling.
It's kind of hinted at.
Wait, there's
right?
stepchildren there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They kind of hint at it. Like, I like the way they do it. They don't make Nurse Chapel this, like, your typical 60s TV woman, right?
Starstruck, pining.
Yeah, like she cares for Spock, but she's also a Starfleet officer and a nurse, and
she's got some dignity and some professionalism.
Yeah,
but she also just wants to make him some soup.
Some chicken soup.
I just love that.
Yeah.
And when he finally says, "Would you make me some of that soup?" She said, "I would just love to."
she just about bursts into tears.
I know. and that's the, and so in the midst of all this, high drama with Kirk fighting Spock in the strange ring, on Vulcan with bladed weapons and odd-looking flails, and in the midst of all that, there are all these little moments in the Ponfar episode that made me think that's a special one that needs to be called out.
What are the weapon names?
I don't know.
Beyond Woom. That's the flail thing, I think. Is the on the wound or something very close to that?
Yeah, it's something like that. It means old reliable in Vulcan.
Old Faithful.
Yeah,
Sparky.
yeah, Sparky, or Betsy or something, some goddamn thing. Anyway,
And I just love the fact that T'Pau is played by an old German lady.
The Spock befriended.
the Reich thinks you have chosen your friends well.
Yeah.
The other one was the Lirpa.
I love the it is considered thy blood to be thin, Spock. It's like, holy shit, really?
Yeah.
You're gonna question his freaking Vulcanness at his wedding? What the fuck, lady?
Don't hold back or anything. Don't make a scene at my wedding on my account.
Right, and she's supposed to be part of his family?
Yeah,
No,
right.
I think, because T'Pau is...
She's the head of she's like one of the senior elders of the planet. She's Vulcan of great influence.
Yeah, she's not in Spock's family, but Spock's family is important enough
to command her presence.
To command her,
okay. That's what
and I like the fact that you don't know that Sarek is Spock's dad yet, right? I love that surprise, because there's an episode where you actually see Sarek on the Enterprise, and Kirk's like, what the hell? Sarek's your father? Holy shit, right? Yeah. But I like the hint that, like, because Kirk even says, Spock's family must be, Spock never hinted that his family was that important, right? And he says that to McCoy in the Amok Time. He's like, wow, T'Pau officiating at Spock's wedding. He didn't mention his family was that, he didn't say important. The word was, I can't remember what it was, and I just watched it this morning.
Well, and is T'Pring Vulcan for cunt?
What should be. Jesus. First of all, I want your friend, not you. And then you have to kill your friend. And then after you think you've killed your friend, I'm going to choose some other dude that I wanted all along.
Was it John Kenneth Galbraith who said the happiest day of a man's life is the morning of his first divorce? That's kind of the look that Spock has when he realizes he's free of this bitch, and that the cuck has won a prize he may not be so happy about winning, and he gets to pronounce that hateful benediction on him at the end about wanting versus having.
And I love how he twists the knife by going, it may not be logical, but it's true. And then he goes, energize. And
Get me the fuck away from this sickness.
See ya.
Yeah, I'll leave you to her.
Yeah, have fun.
Here's a weird note. There's a scene where Spock is looking at a picture of T'Pring when she's a child, and the little girl whose picture that they showed, it's obvious that the ear is made for an adult because it's like half of her face is a fucking ear, right? And Soy Boy's ears looked weird too. I don't know. Is he related to maybe Prince Charles? I don't know.
Well, even Spock was like, wait, you want him?
Yeah.
It was so awesome to see that even Vulcans have this,
They have cuck boys.
Yeah. It was, and I like at the beginning of the episode where, Kirk is, William Shatner really did a good job portraying the struggle between friend and captain.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's like, I'm trying to help you, Spock, but at the same time, he's like, listen, you're my friend, but you're also my subordinate, and I need to know what the hell's going on. Because I can't just do things for you without knowing why I'm doing them. Like, I have to answer to other people.
Right.
But I'm your friend, and I want to help you, right? And it's
the horns of a dilemma.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, very much so. There was one other thing I wanted to make sure that I mentioned before we get out of this episode, and that's something that maybe is peculiar to me because of my age. That is a little bit different experience for the rest of you. When I first saw this, it was in 1965?
7.
No, 65 or 65 or 60.
It was 67 because all 3 of these episodes occur between October and Christmas of 1967.
Okay.
Really? I thought
Yeah.
they're season 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
In any case.
Hmm.
So I'm 15. I'm just turned 15 years old.
Right.
And so I was at that age and thinking Spock is just the coolest thing ever, because of this logical facade that he has. And then at the end when he goes, Jim!
And I swear, does he hug him?
He doesn't hug him, but
he smiles.
He smiles, and that smile is so genuine. He breaks character completely. And I remember as a little kid, the thrill that gave me, the little kid thrill that gave me, it still resonates within me.
Well, you can't help smiling.
Yes, I still, even today, right now, I'm still smiling at the memory of how that made me feel.
Because you know that Kirk isn't dead. Right?
Yeah.
You yourself know.
Yeah.
That Kirk's not dead, but you know Spock doesn't know.
Right.
And when Spock sees him, because Spock comes in and he's like, okay, I'm gonna resign my commission. And McCoy's like, wait. And he's like, no, just shut up for a second. Right. And let me talk. And, I'm just going to go tell Scott to assume command. And Kirk just walks through. Don't you think you should check with me first?
Yep.
And Kirk is there somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But when you see Spock just go, Captain,
no, he
Jim!
goes, Jim! Yeah.
And he's so happy. He's so happy.
Yeah.
And he's let his human side out.
Yep.
After just struggling with his Vulcan side for the whole episode.
Right.
And he's just so happy that he hasn't killed his best friend.
Yes. And so, I wanted to make sure we kind of paid homage to that moment.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, and any other comments about that one?
I love how when McCoy administers the Triox compound, it's because of this damn thin atmosphere. I love the way he disses on like Vulcan deliberately. I think it's that whole animosity between he and Spock is just like this code.
Yeah.
there's that he's really endeared by him. I love Bones. The older and crankier I get, the more I like Bones.
Interesting thing about that. What motivated Bones? I'm going to take some neuroparalyzing compound down to the surface of Vulcan just in case. What?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you thinking, you monster? Are you insane? Are you trying to assassinate somebody down there? What's the matter with you? But, he happened to have it along, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I guess it's not too big an ask. So.
Well, and I like the genuine, even though it's so formal, when Spock says, I also wish McCoy to accompany me, and McCoy's like, I would be honored, sir.
Yeah.
But he means it.
Yeah.
Right? He's not being sarcastic. He actually is honored that Spock wants him down there with him.
No, there's a gruff, neither one's going to admit it, mutual admiration between them.
Well, there's a reason Spock chose McCoy to mind meld with him at the end of Wrath of Khan. There is a reason, and I don't think it was just because he was there.
Yeah.
No. It's a trust relationship.
Yeah.
It's shared experience and trust.
Yeah.
You know, the very firm piers upon which to build friendship. And, yeah. So anyway, those were the things, kind of the reasons that I liked it. So,
I think it's a good choice.
thank you.
Yeah, it's like when all right. So everybody, if you don't know this, the Changeling episode was promoted by Skep errantly as the Sentinel, right?
Right.
And so as everybody's, I was looking for it. I said BP a DM. I can't find the Sentinel. What the fuck?
And
she's like,
I'm not crazy then. Good. I can't find it either.
No, I
But-
actually did that on purpose because I wanted to see if anybody was paying attention.
well, and as soon as they said the Changeling, I said Nomad,
Yeah.
right? Because that's the way I know the episode.
I knew that people would either come back and ask me which one I was talking about if they were really interested. And so I mapped it onto this other name just to test people.
I love
And it's appalling how few people.
I love
God,
how
nobody is listening.
I freaking love how Nomad has a sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's a machine. So for those of you who are going, Nomad, what the fuck? So the episode starts out where they are going to see this this star system that has 4 billion people, or crap, what were they called? Malorian system, was it?
I think, yeah.
And there were 4 billion living beings in that system, and they get there, and there is no life. The planets and everything are there, but there is no life. And all of a sudden, Enterprise comes under attack from this weird object that they can't see for about 5 minutes while it's attacking them. They're like, "Where is it coming from?" And Spock's
Right.
like, "I don't know," and we can't outrun it. So Scott has to do what Scott does best and tie things into the shields. So you've got warp power into the shields. And they finally, Kirk desperately tries to, communicate with this thing. And it hears Captain Kirk and it stops, and, they have some back and forth with it, get it aboard the ship, and we meet Nomad, which is this tiny, 3 foot tall robot that weighs, a ton. Because it's 500 kilos?
Mm-hmm.
So that's 1,000 pounds, roughly. So yeah, it's a 3 foot tall, very heavy thing, and it talks, and first thing it says is, "I am Nomad," and my favorite thing that it keeps saying throughout the episode is, "Non sequitur, your thinking is uncoordinated," or insufficient response. Or one of my favorite lines that it says is when it's talking to Kirk about McCoy. And it goes, "This is one of your units, Kirk?" He goes, "Yes." It functions irrationally.
What is Nomad?
Sometimes.
And it seems that Nomad was a probe launched from Earth to discover new life. But however, it encountered a meteor, and it got pretty badly damaged in the collision with the meteor. And it then encountered, Spock discovers through a mind meld, that it encountered an alien probe designed for procuring and sterilizing soil samples. And
it became perfected so that it would sterilize anything that was not perfect.
Yeah. most likely a biological
It
life.
gained knowledge. It decided that it knew what was good and what was evil, and decided that it could make that judgment. What
Yeah.
does that remind you of in today's society? Social justice warriors.
Yep.
They are nomad.
Yeah.
Sterilize. Must sterilize. And when you show them the illogic, they go, they go into that loop that nomad starts to go into.
Yeah.
And there's that kind of self-righteousness.
Yeah.
I think that's actually was a theme that the writers were trying to get at, was that when you believe that you have all the answers and you take that kind of power into your hands, that's the that's the mistake that Robespierre and Hitler and Stalin and all that lot, Pol Pot. It's the same mistake they make over and over again.
Well, there are plenty of episodes that follow that theme in TOS.
Oh yeah.
Omega Glory with Ron Tracy.
Absolutely.
Or the Balance of Terror with the Romulan captain willing to, do whatever it takes to preserve his glory. Or, the what was the other thing that
Romulans are like that.
They really are. And it's a running theme throughout TOS. I think that you need to be careful about how righteous you get.
Well, it's about the perfectibility of man.
Yeah,
And I think there's also a theme that I picked up on too was like we've got to be careful what we send out there, because this is a repeated theme in the movie, the Star Trek, the V'ger, right?
Yeah.
I figured when I was watching this, I said, "Shit, this was the foundation for that movie."
Yep.
And then Uzi said, "This thing reminds me of the Daleks from Doctor Who." Yeah.
Exterminate. Yep. Exactly. It's and what it does to Uhura, like what is singing.
The only thing about that is, let's talk about being careful what we send out there. The odds of being discovered by any sentient, especially with what we've learned about the observable universe vis-a-vis the likely size of the actual universe.
Yeah.
When you think of the, our little solar system versus the observable universe being, 93 I forget some number of trillion light years, in a sphere, a sphere of diameter of some trillion numbers of light years, some number that doesn't really make a lot of sense, some number that we can't really even understand. But think about how large that is.
Yeah.
That's the observable universe, okay? Now hang on just 1 second, okay? They believe that observable universe is like an atom in the observable universe. Is that observable universe to the actual universe is like an atom is to the observable universe.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how big the actual universe is. It's really, really unfathomably big, and yeah, far, far beyond our ability to traverse it in terms of moving the way we think of.
Well, especially at the speed of our probes now.
It's not going to happen with Newtonian motion. It's
even New Horizons.
Yeah,
which is a damn sight faster than either of the Voyager probes.
Yeah, no, even with with Alcubierre, it's like 2 generations beyond that kind of theoretical stuff, and we can't do Alcubierre.
Oh, and there's an iconic phrase uttered in this
levels of energy.
Right. Something just came to my mind is that scene where he goes, "He's dead, Jim."
Yep.
Yeah, Scotty.
The first
Yeah, when it's
time we hear that, isn't it?
when it's sucking her brain dry, Scotty tries to like attack it, right? And
Yeah.
it hits him with this beam, and he's dead. And Kirk asks him to repair the unit, and
I love
and
how
nobody-
I love how Nomad tries to tell him why it shouldn't repair. He's like, it's got insufficient systems. The maintenance systems are insufficient. This, and he's like, yeah, it serves me as it is. Repair it. Like that's got to be, like I think Kirk was the best captain at dealing with a situation and kind of burying his humanity for the time being. Like he seemed much better at compartmentalizing things
right.
Oh yeah.
than, like, Picard's pretty steady on his feet, right? But even he gets really bothered when morality
Picard's an administrator.
yeah, when morality gets in the way, like when it's a moral question, Picard gets very emotional.
Yeah.
Kirk is like, okay, this is what's happening. I will deal with it right now, and however I feel about it, I'll go have some Romulan ale in my ready room afterwards.
Yeah.
But right now, I have a, thing on my ship that wants to destroy all biological life. So, how am I going to deal with that right now? Okay, it thinks my crew are units? Fine. My crew are units. Like, he's the best captain at that, I think.
Yep. He's the most decisive captain.
Yes.
And
Like-
I don't think Picard is the second most decisive captain.
I don't either.
Who do
I
you
think it's Cisco.
I agree. Interesting.
That's crazy. I thought we're on the same page with that shit.
I definitely think it's Cisco because, like, and it even shows, like, to jump back to Amok Time, it even shows how easy it is for Kirk to make a decision, even a decision that could end his career.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, fuck it, we're going to Vulcan, I don't care.
Yeah.
My friend and first officer is going to die if I go to Altair 6 first. Well, guess what? I'm not going to Altair 6. Screw my career. I owe him my life a dozen times over. We're going to Vulcan. And, like, Picard would have agonized over that
Yeah.
for half the episode. But it took Kirk, like, 10 seconds. And Cisco, he does a bit of agonizing over decisions, but it's very, very quick. Like,
And he
again,
makes the right decision
he-
though, time after time.
yeah, he does. And then I think it's Picard after Cisco. Janeway is freaking terrible at making decisions.
Yeah. she's awful. I would hate surfing under her. I'd probably just mute. I'd say, hey, let's go down to the airlock. Oh, we had a terrible accident.
I feel so bad for, like, I know this is a tangent, and Chakotay can piss me off so many ways, but he had a no-win choice to make in Scorpion. He really did. When Janeway was close to death and she's like, okay, you're in command now. He's like, okay, either I deal with the Borg the way Janeway was, or, like, and I take the, nanoprobes through this war,
Mm-hmm.
or I backtrack and deposit them on a planet and still possibly get assimilated. And I also disobey my captain at that point. So I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't.
That happens.
And it's like, but yeah, but like back to Changeling, like I love how Changeling was like, yeah, I can fix your dead crewman, but your other crewman who's still alive but has no knowledge is screwed. Sorry. It's like,
Yeah, can you just put the knowledge back? What do you mean?
yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing is how fast they were. Oh, she's already back up to high school level or whatever.
Yeah, she's like at a first grade reader. She's going through the first grade. I love how she's trying to sound out words by herself and makes blue into bluey. The ball is bluey. Bluey? She's like, wait, that doesn't sound right.
Well, yeah, and they're really never. It's like this is one of those things that I'm like, okay, no. So how come she gets completely wiped? So is she going to remember her family and shit eventually, or is that just?
Well, she started speaking in her native language, and Chapel had to tell her, no, speak English.
Yeah, it's just Swahili.
So she obviously retained, like, early memories, right? Because she could still speak.
Yeah.
She just couldn't speak English. She had to be taught English.
Well, Uhuru means freedom in Swahili. Stupid factoids I pick up.
Stupid fact.
It's another one. Well, actually, I picked that up from Frank Zappa, but that's a completely different story.
It's another good choice, I think.
So that was the other thing was the high rate of death of red shirts at the hands of the at the ray gun of
Nomad.
Of Nomad was just appalling.
It was.
It's just strolling through the ship, zapping red shirts as it goes.
And I feel bad for Scott because he's like, what are you doing in here? What are you doing? What? And it's like this crude antimatter system is inefficient. I will effect repairs.
Exactly. We'll fix the clutch for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This other system is also inefficient. I will effect repairs. And you're like, do I let it do it? Do I try and stop? It killed me once already. What the hell do I do? Like, poor Scott. He couldn't win to save his life.
Well, the nerd part of him wants it to improve his system.
Yes.
He wants a badass system.
And he wants to see how it's doing it, right? And he even asked.
He doesn't want to die in a nuclear explosion in space.
No.
So.
But he even asks. He's like, how are you doing that? Like you just feel so bad for Scott because,
And then at the end, they when it goes into that final fatal loop,
be right back.
Okay.
That would just be a great place to take the sound off and plug in the Windows shutdown music. Dun, dun, dun. So.
Or the Windows error system at first that bong.
Yeah, tang. Exactly, tang.
Error. I am Nomad. Error.
Must sterilize. That's so funny.
Oh,
I've watched
man.
that so many times, and I still love it. I realize that, for me, it's just sentimentality that I love these. I love all this stuff. I could watch all 3 seasons, and half of them would be my favorites.
Of course, it's it's Star Trek.
I can't wait to do Menagerie.
Oh yeah.
I told you that Menagerie would have been one of my 3.
Mm.
So shall we move on to Tribbles?
The Trouble with Tribbles and Cyrano Jones.
I love this episode. I know it's a sillier episode.
That's why I love it.
But it's so funny. It's got so many funny scenes, so many good lines. And, of course, anyone, even people who haven't seen the original series knows, it's the Enterprise is, going to or attempting to take shore leave, and also to inspect and deliver a load of grain that I never could pronounce properly.
Quadrotriticale.
Quadrotriticale, that's right.
Yes.
And they're
as opposed to trinitrotriticale, which is in another episode.
Yes.
But anyway.
And it's in orbit of Space Station K7, where this grain needs to go for a planet, Sherman's planet, I believe, is the planet that it needs to go to. And the Klingons also appear, and they wish to take shore leave. And, of course, the space station owner is exceedingly upset about this, and so he's asked Kirk to kind of run security, I guess, for him. So Kirk's like, oh boy, yay, I get to deal with Klingons. So, and of course, while this is going on, there is a merchant called Cyrano Jones running around the space station with these little creatures called tribbles. And of course, all the women are all, oh, they're so cute. I want one. And they are these little balls of fluff that make these really weird cooing noises. And everybody...
Little Martian flat cats. And you probably wonder why I just said that.
Yes,
and I'm going to hijack this right now. you know, don't you? Don't you? You're a Robert A. Heinlein fan, and you probably remember the book The Rolling Stones. Gene Roddenberry noticed that the story was very similar to Robert Heinlein's novel The Rolling Stones, and they featured something called the Martian flat cats, which were very, very similar in behavior and nature and shape and size and sound to the tribbles. And he called Heinlein personally to apologize for the similarity and to beg him not to sue them.
Oh, wow.
And Heinlein was totally cool. He said, no problem, Gene. This happens. And he was very understanding and was satisfied with the simple mea culpa from Roddenberry.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely true story.
That's cool.
Well, and I think a lot of the sci-fi and horror people, writers especially at that point in time, were being encouraged by the legitimization of sci-fi through shows like Star Trek and stuff.
See, Star Trek was boosting Robert A. Heinlein's sale because this was the time when this was like the
Starship.
Well, yeah, this was when Stranger in a Strange Land was really hitting its stride, and this was these were was don't get me started. But this was when it really hit its stride, and Star Trek was probably a big help to his book. So he had warm feelings about Roddenberry and all things Star Trek, and considered that all this to be allyship. So I'm sure he had no problem. Plus, if you know anything about Robert A. Heinlein's personality, he was just a great guy. He was just a good guy.
Calm guy.
Calm, decent, good man. And
so let's talk about one of my favorite scenes in this show, and I'm sure this episode, and I'm sure it's pretty much everybody's favorite scene, even Prospero in chat. The bar fight.
Yes.
The bar fight between the Klingons and the Enterprise crew that Scott, for the first little bit, tries to stop.
And you notice somebody is missing from the bar fight scene. Who's missing?
Let's see.
Sulu?
Sulu's not there.
That's true.
Because Sulu was in a movie called The Green Berets with John Wayne.
Wow.
Yeah, he was
wondering why.
So he was making that. Okay.
He was off making movies with John Wayne. And so he was literally not there. And so they rewrote all the parts for Walter Koenig.
Wow.
And wrote it for Chekhov. Yeah. Yeah, that
Well, 'cause-
Chekhov got the big part there.
And there's
he
that
sure
big,
did.
yeah, the Russian like claiming to have created everything and invented everything.
I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then in retrospect, some of
From
the
Leningrad.
some of the shit in space that is credited to them now because the Cold War's over.
Right.
And it's, but I love how Scott is trying to stop Chekhov from attacking them. He's like, "But Mr. Scott, they are talking about the captain."
Yeah.
And then
They
they
were big
started.
enough to take a little insult, laddie.
Yeah, and then they start calling
A
the
garbage
Enterprise a
scout.
garbage scout. And, laddie, don't you think you'd better rephrase that? You're right. You're right. I was wrong when I said the Enterprise was a garbage or should be hauling garbage. It should be hauled away as garbage.
And
Yeah.
it's unfortunate you can't see that because Scotty's eyes actually glitter with hate at that moment. He really does a good job of he changes like almost into a monster.
Pissed him off,
Scott's temper just catches up with him.
Oh yeah, he just gets up and gets the guy, delivers a right cross to the guy.
And my favorite, and then I love the scene after. I love it because Kirk's dressing down the crew, and they're all, "I don't know, sir. I don't know, sir." Right.
You threw the first punch,
Yeah, he's like, "You're all dismissed except for Scott."
right?
Right. He's, "What happened?" And I love how he just has to pry it out of Scott that he didn't hit the Klingon because he insulted his captain.
Insulted
He
the captain,
hit the
yeah.
Klingon because they insulted the
His
Enterprise.
ship. And you can't blame him, man.
No, he's an engineer. You can't.
That's right.
It's it's the.
And that's kind of a Navy thing, isn't it, Skep?
Very much so.
Yeah. The pride of the ship.
Night behavior.
Yeah. So they were acting very naval in this episode.
Very
Even Kirk and and his response and his dissing that guy that owns the Quadrilateral, Mr. Barris.
Yes.
Yeah. So
You don't see very much of the guys lined up in military formation like you did when he was dressing them down.
Yeah.
That's every morning on the ship, every workday morning, which is when you're at sea, it's 6 days a week. When you're in port, it's 5 days a week. You at roughly 8 o'clock or 7:30 in the morning, depending on the ship, you muster down on the main deck, and everybody stands. All the divisions stand, and you get your orders of the day. It's called the plan of the day. And it's called morning quarters. And you stand in lines. Everybody stands in perfect lines in military formation, at least ideally. And you don't see that much in Star Trek. You don't see that kind of military formation. I was sort of delighted to see that.
Do you think the original series stays a bit truer to naval tradition than the rest of them?
Very definitely.
yeah, then all the rest.
100
combined.
million%. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I agree.
The other ones just said, "Hey, we're going freeform. We're going to invent our own." And that's the other thing is, the really TOS is the most comparable, certainly, to my experience in naval service, and both in terms of the way the ship is organized, the way decisions are made, the behavior of the captain and the senior staff, and plus, when you like on Janeway's ship, you wouldn't have a ship.
But that's the thing.
Apart.
Like,
It's
there's
completely disorganized.
there's a comparison I want to make here real quick. So in Amok Time, when Kirk calls to the bridge and says, "How give me a course, give me a speed that could get us to Vulcan and get us to Altair 6 in the shortest amount of time. And Chekhov's like, we're already going to Vulcan, right? And he comes out and he goes, Mr. Spock, come with me, please.
Yes. That was very
Right?
very, very naval. That's
Now,
just how that would happen too.
there is a episode in Voyager in season 1 called Cathexis, where there's a non-corporeal alien that's floating around the ship, taking over people.
Yeah.
And B'Elanna, well, actually, we find out later that it was Chakotay that took over her. But B'Elanna ends up dumping the warp core. And she doesn't realize that she's done it. And Janeway comes ballsing into engineering, right in front of everybody, and goes, apparently you've just dumped the warp core and stopped the ship cold. Do you want to tell me why?
Yeah,
And B'Elanna's like, what? Right?
the worst captain on Earth would
Completely different.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you learn not to do that seriously when you're an ensign, when you're an O1, when you are the most junior of officers that is trained into you to not do that.
yeah, you pull someone aside. You don't shit on them in front of especially if they're the chief of a department.
You praise in public, criticize in public.
Yeah, you do not shit on them in front of their department.
And that's proper. Yeah, that's proper etiquette with business, I would think.
Any business, any way you run a company.
A good leader of any kind will behave like that, I believe.
Yeah. And there's one more comparison I'd like to make, and that is the Klingons of TOS versus all the other. Anyone else find the TOS Klingons a little bit cartoonish in their villainry?
Are you kidding me? They look like Mexicans.
That's racist.
I'm sorry.
That's racist.
Remember, he's in Texas, man. We give him a slide on that shit.
Senor.
Hola, Senor Earther.
Oh.
Yeah, they call them Earthers.
Ship.
I love how they call the Klingons call them Earthers in TOS.
Yeah.
It
and taco bender.
It's and I love how the Tribbles hate Klingons. They like squeal at them.
And that's how they identify the infiltrator.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They're so much like human beings, The guy just looks like he's slightly Mexican heritage, and
brown. He's just a brown dude.
Yeah, he's just a brown dude, and the Tribbles go wild, and
that never would have happened.
Patty Duke's dad goes, and yes, he did play her dad on the Patty Duke show.
Yeah.
That goes wild when he realizes that his assistant poisoned the grain.
It seems to like Mr. Barris just fine. It doesn't like you. I wonder why that is.
Likes Mr. Barris just fine. Well, there's no accounting for taste.
Jim, this man's a Klingon.
Yeah.
He looks Italian to me.
I just love McCoy. He's like, Jim, this man's a Klingon.
Can you imagine going up to Worf saying, this man's a Klingon? Well, duh.
No shit, Sherlock.
Yeah, and now it's come full circle where they talk like they've got dicks in their mouths, man. They go,
I know. That's bullshit.
Oh my god.
Well, I love the Trials and Tribulations episode of Deep Space Nine.
Yes.
Worf actually says, tells them why today's Klingons hate Tribbles. They were imported and they took over the freaking planet and we had to kill them all. And he references the like he doesn't say outright it was the Enterprise, right? But we all know if you've watched the the original series, he's talking about when Scott transports all the tribbles onto the Klingon ship.
Into their engineering spaces.
Where there'll be no tribble at all.
I love that.
That was a great pun. It's like, I don't know. I can see the writers having a ball with this one, man.
Oh God! Of course.
They milked that pun too. They made it last for like 30 seconds. Throwing it from actor to actor to actor.
Mm-hmm.
Do Klingons have street corn? Or street what?
They have burrito stands.
Street corn?
Street corn.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either.
I think it's code for drugs. I don't know.
Could you imagine a stoned Klingon?
Yes.
How long would it take for them to get on high? Because they have so many redundant systems. Like, would it filter through longer or would it filter through faster?
Probably, I would think faster.
Because they can handle a lot more alcohol than other people.
You seriously not know what street corn is?
No.
It's it's a way to prepare grilled corn with like lime juice and sour cream on it. It's really good. It's delicious. It's absolutely out of this world.
Damn.
Now I want corn on the cob.
All right, Prospero, DM us a recipe.
It's on the cob. It's fixed on the cob.
Oh, dude.
See, right now, corn on the cob is right in season where I am. Because all the corn was detasseled at the beginning of August, and now it's ready to be picked. There's nothing like roadside corn. Anyway, hey, corn quadritriticale, they're grain, right? It's parallel, I guess.
Make some tasty bread with that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, so those were Skep's picks, and I think those were great. I really enjoyed watching them and rewatching them to talk about them.
Well, the next show is the one I'm excited about because
it's my turn.
Your picks.
Yeah,
That's
it's
right.
my turn next week.
Yeah.
Have you already got yours picked up?
I do, and so
I know one of them is Menagerie.
So we will be doing Menagerie, Space Seed, and the Mark of Gideon.
Oh, Mark of Gideon. Oh, awesome.
Those are my three picks.
Mark of Gideon is one of those sleeper beauties.
Yeah.
I called Space Seed. I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah.
You called it. You knew that was one of the ones I was going to pick.
Yes.
That's a classic. But Mark of
Gideon. Got a knife at your doctor's throat. It's one of my favorite lines. Yeah. I can't wait to talk about it. Oh, it's gonna be fun. So I hope you all enjoyed this giant nerd fest. It's always fun putting it on for you guys.
Pardon? I have so much fun doing this.
Well, I'm glad you guys. I'm glad you guys enjoy it. If you guys are around at 11:30 Eastern, 10:30 Central tonight, go check out Minions of the Zoo. I think it's Reject night. So yeah, go check that out. And then of course, Blind in the Special tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern, and Coffee Stream back on Monday. So yeah, I hope everyone has a great rest of their Saturday.
Can I show
Who are you? Yeah, who are you doing for Cream Stream tomorrow? Or
Blossom.
Not Cream Stream.
Ice cream. Ice cream interview. Yeah.
You're interviewing Blossom.
Yes, Blossom. Wow. Another Canadian chick. So, yeah.
Very cool. And that's at 5, right?
I'm still recovering from blind
5
presence. Molly Burke.
Oh, fuck.
God almighty. 2 hours of fuck. God. Yeah, you're lucky I'm a loyal friend.
Oh, dude, you didn't watch the Cream Stream last night. We were looking at adult.
I was
baby diaper. Oh, you saw that?
I fell asleep. Before you got to the
diaper.
Yeah, I was watching some of that, but yeah. No thanks.
I love that shit. But yeah, the Molly Burke, man, that chick is she's a dingy thought.
She's a sociopath.
She's a thought.
A fucking.
Do you really think she knows what she's doing, dude?
Attention whore. That's all she is. And
Mm.
as I said, the blind press. Who does that remind you of?
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
Muppet Puppet.
how I do go on.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. We sure did. Come back next week for more nerdery, and we will see y'all tomorrow for Blindman Special. And have a great day, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Peace, y'all. Roll Tide.
Poor damn eagle.